becoming increasingly concerned that we were damaging his legacy.
What did the president say in response to what you just described?
He said something along the lines of, nobody will care about my legacy if I lose.
Trump aide Hope Hicks, that's what she looks like testifying under oath. That was in a different proceeding where we had cameras, the Jan 6 probe in Congress. We're now joined by our lawyers for this special, Melissa Murray and Andrew Weissman. Andrew, I know both of you watched this closely today. What did you think of Ms. Hicks' testimony?
I think your description of her testimony being a body blow is totally accurate. This, I think, took a sledgehammer to a major defense. Prior to her testimony, a big gap in the DA's arsenal was, did Donald Trump know about the payments to Stormy Daniels as hush money payments? The DA had conceded he did not sign the actual agreement between that Michael Cohen signed and that Stormy Daniels and her lawyer signed, but there was a blank with respect to this signature block for the president. Also, Michael Cohen had said, with respect to the payments, he had said to Mr. Davidson, maybe I'm just going to have to pay on my own. In other words, that Donald Trump was not going to pay in advance. So there was a lot of concern. Certainly, it's like, how are they going to link Donald Trump to the actual hush money payments with respect to Stormy Daniels? David Pecker had already given a link with respect to Karen McDougal, with respect to the doorman, but the case is really about the Stormy Daniels payments. And Hope Hicks, a reluctant witness who tearfully said, and this is from within the Trump campaign, said Donald Trump told her that he was aware that Michael Cohen had made these hush money payments. He tried to say, I only learned after the fact, which, by the way, doesn't matter. As long as he learned it and knew it before he was making all of these reimbursement payments, that's good enough. Right. But Hope Hicks not only said, did she say that he knew it?
If you reimburse someone for buying you crack, you're still on the hook.
Yeah. And so she gave that. She also suggested she didn't believe Donald Trump's story, that this was something that Michael Cohen did out of the goodness of his heart. She said, that's not who he is, and he likes to take credit for things. So she also said, I don't really believe that story in words or substance, but it doesn't matter. You're going to hear from the DA. It doesn't really matter whether she believes him or not, because as long as you actually now have Donald Trump knowing about the hush money payments to Stormy Daniels, that's the predicate for the false business records. The major gap that the defense seemed to want to exploit has been completely closed by a witness who I think is going to be just impossible for the defense to say was lying and misremembered this, because it was so palpable in court that she did not want to be there and did not want to give this testimony.
Melissa, your view on the strongest testimony this past week?
Well, I think I'm a little less sanguine than Andrew is, and maybe a little more muted in my response to Hope Hicks. She did close that loop for the prosecution, but she did also close some loops for the defense as well. She emphasized that Donald Trump was very, very cognizant of his wife's own view of the things that had happened, certainly in the wake of the Access Hollywood tape, that he was very concerned about her, that he respected her a great deal, and had instructed Hope Hicks not to deliver certain newspapers that would cover the story to their residents so she wouldn't see them. And that's going to be a big part of the defense here. I mean, they only have to establish reasonable doubt for a single jury to hang this jury. And again, they can make the point that this was never about the election. This was always about his wife. To be fair, though, as Andrew says, she does link Donald Trump to all of this and his concern about the election. There's a lot of testimony there when the Stormy Daniels situation does come out in the press in 2018, where he muses that it's probably better for this to have come out now rather than before the election. I think that goes right to the prosecution's case. It's also the case that Hope Hicks herself may have opened the door for some probable impeachment of her character by the defense. She notes that she didn't even see the Access Hollywood tape, but her immediate response was to deny, deny, deny. It's sort of a classic thing that a PR flack would do, but it does suggest that she was already making the case for Donald Trump without actually knowing what had transpired on that tape.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're talking about alternative facts land, so that's sort of become, common. I guess the question is, which hat do they have on? And, I do think she has some potential standing with the jury there, and that she came through, unless she's the most incredible actor ever. Most people can't cry on command. Most people aren't able to just do that. And part of what juries do, as you both know so well, is use their eyes and ears to assess whether they think the current version of that they're hearing is basically true or not, or if somebody's actually lying on the stand. I wanted also, Melissa, to draw your attention to just how different a world it is. We all know what things have been like in the last few years, how cynical people feel about politics, particularly some of the Republican Party. I mentioned that in our reporting in the top of this program. To just go back and look briefly at how Donald Trump sounded in one of the only public statements he's ever made that could be called a partial apology reminds you how much of a problem this was in October. Take a look.
I've never said I'm a perfect person, nor pretended to be someone that I'm not. I've said and done things I regret, and the words released today on this more than a decade-old video are one of them. Anyone who knows me knows these words don't reflect who I am. I said it, I was wrong, and I apologize.
I was wrong, and I apologize, quote unquote. Not a deep fake, Melissa, an actual statement under duress. How does that work in the story that the prosecutors are trying to tell through these witnesses?
So I think that goes to the point that the prosecutors have been trying to make. And indeed, I think Andrew is right. Hope Hicks helps to furnish that he was concerned about this election, that he was concerned about what it might mean with the electorate if news of Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels came out, especially hot on the heels of the Access Hollywood tape. So again, though, it's a long time since this happened. I mean, we've had a pandemic, we've had a coup, we've had all kinds of things. Are the jurors going to remember that in October of 2016, this was all anyone could talk about, and it seemed like literally the worst thing that he could do? We've been somewhat inured to what he can and will do, and I think it's very likely that this might seem really quaint to the jurors, and sort of piecing all of this together as a campaign to get elected and to silence some of these facts that could come out and be really damaging to him.